So let's talk about the Eastern Conference for a bit and the fact that at least one good team is going to be heartbroken by losing in round one. I think the consensus is that the Heat, Bulls, Sixers, Bucks, and Nets, in whatever order, are the five best teams in the East, with all the respect in the world to the Cavs, Raptors, and Celtics. Of course, when I say the Nets, I mean the actual version of the Nets, and who the hell knows when we're going to see that, given KD's injury. Kyrie's only eligible to play in like 7 or 8 games the rest of the way. Don't know when Ben Simmons is debuting. But yeah, that's 5 teams. Only 4 teams make it into round 2. As of right now, it would be Sixers-Bucks in the 4-5 matchup. And also, I mean, if the rest of the way just goes really poorly for them with just games played for their guys, they could meet the Bulls or the Heat in round 1. Of course, we still have a decent ways to go, but there is a chance we could get 2 really good East teams knocked out in the first round. Among the teams in the top 4, I'm sure most teams would view Cleveland as the quote-unquote break of those 4, but even so, they'd be a challenge. Talk about dealing with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen in round 1, trying to score at the rim. As of right now, it would be Celtics-Cavs round 1. I feel like every game in that series would finish like 85-86. And the Raptors are making noise as well. Just trying to think of Ben Simmons' place in this team. Like, is he going to be directing traffic? Is he going to be telling Kevin Durant where to stand? And, hey, Kyrie, you get up here, let's run a handoff action because the defender's sagging off of me. On top of Ben, hopefully setting screens, cutting weak side, attacking the offensive glass, and then being the terror in transition that he always is. And hopefully they look to get him going downhill in half-court actions as well, even if that's as simple as just setting a screen super early in a possession when he has just crossed half court or whatever. To talk about Philly and the James Harden Embiid thing a little bit more, I mean, yeah, it's been talked about enough the past couple days. James Harden prefers a switching defense. Philly does not want to switch super heavy defensively. Embiid is not a Clint Capella-esque dive to the rim guy off of screens. He's more of a pop or a kind of float to the mid-range, and then from there maybe get into his face-up or his post-ups or muscle his defender if he's got him off balance a little bit. James Harden prefers not to move off ball that much, which you're going to have to do when defenses are throwing extra attention at Embiid on his post-ups and his face-ups, so it's going to be a bit of an adjustment. For the Bulls, the thing that I'm intrigued by is how teams are going to try to guard the DeRozan-Vooch screen action, because as of right now, and I tweeted this last night, and then Nekias Duncan did an article about it today, which made me feel better about my tweet, I truly believe it's the best play in the NBA right now. They get a good look off of it what seems like every single time. Whether it's DeRozan getting into his mid-range, which I gotta tell you, man, through watching Bulls games, it legit feels like DeRozan is shooting 70% from mid-range in his last 7 games. Or the fact that Vooch is a threat from out there, or then it's a kick out to Kobe White or whoever. Eventually we're going to see Lonzo and Caruso back again, and I think the way that you could throw those two at so many of the guards in the Eastern Conference between Kyle Lowry, Darius Garland, Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, Jrue Holiday, whoever acts as the point guard for the Celtics, Van Vliet. So all that matters. Of course, when I mention James Harden, I mainly mention him in the sense of sometimes this season he hasn't looked his best. I wonder if teams would ever switch that DeRozan-Vooch action. Maybe Miami would be the only one equipped to do that because of Bam. But even then, now it's a smaller guy on Vooch, but I guess if you prepare for that ahead of time with Jimmy or PJ Tucker, then maybe you're okay with that. Just somebody real physical on Vooch, of course. To think about Miami, since I just went on a random blurb with them, I want to see how other teams deal with the fact that Spo is just going to do weird stuff in the playoffs. He's going to bust out some weird zone, or it's going to be one possession they're switching, next possession they're fighting over screens, next one after that it's back to a zone. It's like, what the hell is going on, And so I think they're really going to test teams' ability to keep the ball moving, set creative screens, move off ball. If I can be a Celtics fan for 4 seconds, they were playing a team running a zone. I don't remember what game it was recently, but somebody was running a zone similar to what Miami ran in the conference finals against them a couple years ago, and Tatum just immediately ran to the middle of the floor where it was wide open. And that's a very small, obvious example of what to do against it, but you need to do that. Of course, depending on who you are, you might not need to get super creative because you might just have Giannis or Kevin Durant or Embiid or Harden to where you can just say, screw it, we have so much talent, who cares if we don't have the optimal strategy against Miami's weird zones. I would really love to see Heat Nets because I think the Heat's defense would really test the Nets' game plan when it comes to how they're using Ben Simmons. I feel like I haven't talked about the Bucks much yet. So with the Bucks, we're really hoping that Ibaka trade hits, man, because their defense has been slipping recently. I know their record with the Big Three is still amazing, but I think Ibaka can just make their drop coverage more viable, and it can allow them to get back to their foundation defensively over the past few years, of which they can then look to experiment off of it as they did in these previous playoffs. But having that fallback thing, especially in the regular season, it's huge. And Ibaka, is he going to be Brook? I mean, he's not as big, so in that sense, maybe not, but it should help. And then from there, they can sometimes go to their Giannis at center lineups and then get a little more aggressive defensively, whatever it may be. One thing I would like to point out, and the reason I'm saying this is just because if the playoffs began right now, it would be Bucks Sixers in round one. We actually have not seen a Sixers Bucks playoff series with Embiid and Giannis. And of course, Giannis has made so many strides with dealing with the wall that I guess the Raptors and then Miami really put together. But there's a wall of dudes and then there's Joel Embiid. So what does that look like? Also, would Drew just put most of his energy into guarding Harden? That would be something to make note of as well. Can I talk about the Celtics as well as Raptors for just a little bit here? So Toronto suddenly has like a three-headed monster offensively, with Gary Trent being basically Reggie Miller. Van Vliet and his tough shot making. The amount of times that dude hits like a contested three or a pull-up mid-range with a dude right on him is pretty nuts. But also Siakam. I feel like Nick Nurse is running a lot of creative things with Siakam. Sometimes they'll have Van Vliet just screen on the ball for him. They'll also have times where they'll kind of run like a horns action with Siakam acting as the guard, or like as the ball handler, I should say. And he'll like throw it to one of the dudes on the elbow, and then he'll run down to the baseline with the other guy in the horns screening for him, and that can open up stuff to the rim, on top of him getting opportunities in transition and sometimes just busting out isolations. Like Siakam is really rolling right now. And as for the Celtics, I mean, it's more ball movement, man. It's more plays where it's like Time Lord screening for Tatum up top, but Tatum doesn't have the ball, so it's like a cut action, or Tatum's decision making out of screens being better, or dealing with double teams better, or it's Derek White and everything he's providing right now, just having the guts to make passes that other guys might not make as much. Or him just simply keeping the swing offense moving. And also Jalen's place in the offense is something that's always interesting to me, because I feel like a lot of the time he's used as like a catch and shoot guy or a finisher or a cutter, or he'll make plays in transition, and all that's nice. But then I'm always asking myself, man, it's been like 4 minutes and it feels like Jalen hasn't done anything. Is this the right way to go about this? But also, do you want to lean that hard on Jalen pick and rolls and isolations? I don't know. It's a constant thing. Jalen's cool. Anyway, the point of this whole thing was to be like, someone's getting bounced in round one that is going to be really disappointed, and it's potentially going to be two teams.